that they do.
Okay, folks, here we go. Today we're going to cover the exact response to handle any objection. And there's one thing that will burn a real estate agent more than this. And there's nothing that will burn you more than not being able to handle the response to an objection, is what I meant to say. Okay? And it reminds me of this joke about an American, a Russian, and a realtor. Okay? The Russian said, "We were the first people in space." Okay? We were the first people in space. The American said, "Well, we were the first people to the moon." And the realtor said, "Well, we're going to be the first people to the sun." And the Russian and the American were laughing and saying, "Are you kidding me? You can't go to the sun. You'll get burnt up if you go to the sun." And the realtor said, "Oh, listen, we're not stupid. We're going to go at night." All right? So, we don't want to get burnt, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to handle the objection. Any objection. So in order to do that, I have to give you a process. I have to give you a track in order to help you through the process of how to handle an objection. So here's what we're going to cover first. What I want you to do first is I want you to, we're going to go through these questions first. After we go through the 5 questions, then I'm going to ask you to write down your most feared objection. The number one objection that bothers you or concerns you the most, that if somebody said to you, "We want you to cut your commission," or "We only want to give you a 30-day listing," or "We don't want to make a full-priced offer on this house," whatever objection it is that you might get or you're afraid you're going to get from a buyer or a seller, or think about an objection that you received that you didn't handle and it turned into you not making a sale and you didn't know what to say. So think about that. I'm going to ask you to write it down in a minute. And so first, let's go through the exact response for handling any objection. Let's go through the questions, okay? Number 5, the best way to stay in control when handling any objection is to A, keep asking questions until they give you an answer. B, close harder than they object. Or C, take things one step at a time and stay on track.
C.
That is correct. Number 4, whenever you get an objection, the first thing you should do is ask why. Or B, make a statement that shows you're not going to argue. Or C, just give up.
A. Give up.
A. Ask why.
All the above.
B?
A and B. I don't think
A
of
and B?
The answer is B.
Mm.
B, make a statement that shows you're not going to argue. And that's going to be part of the process that I will show you.
That's okay.
Number 3, there are how many objection handling techniques? 300, 300,000, or 300 million?
300. B. 300,000.
They're actually C, 300 million, because there are 300 million people in the world, and for every person in the world, they're going to have a different objection. So we need to have a system in place in order to handle it. See, you know what's interesting is that I've been teaching you dialogue, right? But imagine if you knew a track so that you could make your own dialogue at any given time, at any given moment, as long as you knew what track to follow, okay? We'll cover that for you. Number 2, sometimes when prospects object, all they need is a cup of coffee, a reassuring nudge, or a little time.
Reassuring nudge.
That's correct, a reassuring nudge.
Not time.
Number 1, never tell something you can also show them, because a picture's worth $1,000.
Dollars.
Ooh, you guys are good. $1,000. A picture's worth $1,000. So, next page, if you would, please. And what I'd like you to do is write down your most feared objection. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. And I'll just wait when you're done writing down your objection that you're afraid to get, or that you don't want to get, or you're not sure how to handle. Go ahead and write something down. So I need each of you to write one thing down, because I'm going to ask you to share that with everyone after you're finished writing, if you would, please. I'll give you a minute to do that. almost done?
Mhm.
You're good? Okay, great. Now, I'm going to give you the number one rule about handling objections. The rule is that people do what they feel like doing. And in order for you to want someone to do something differently, you have to change the way they feel about doing it. You follow me? So in order to change the way people feel about doing something, there's a psychological process that you can bring them through. By the way, that's a face, okay? And this is the mind of the seller and or the buyer, okay? And there's a psychological 5-step process that we're going to bring them through, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right? Now, there are, as I mentioned earlier, there are 300 million people out there in the world, so there must be 300 million ways of handling an objection. So there isn't any one way that might be better than the other. In fact, you might need 4 or 5 of these just to handle one objection. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how tough the objection is or the way you're handling it and how you're handling it. Now, before we get into this, I also promised in the flyer that we put out for this seminar that I promised you I was going to give you a dialogue that would add another 3 to 4 sales to your inventory of sales over the next year. And it's a dialogue, I want you to write it down. You ready? Okay. You're working with a buyer, and here's what I'd like you to say to them. Do you like the home? Next part. Look up when you're done. Take your time. Okay. Next part. Buy it. So it goes like this, gang. Do you like the home? Buy it. All right, let's role play that. You ready? You go.
Do you like the home? Buy it. Buy it.
Buy it.
You guys are good. Normally I have to do that 3 or 4 times. You all did that excellent. And I guarantee you, when you use that dialogue, I guarantee you it'll get a buyer to buy the home. If they're ready. If they like the home, it's a little reassuring what?
Nudge.
It's a little reassuring nudge to get them off the mark, to get them to do what it is that they know they need to do. If you do that, I promise you you'll make 3 or 4 more sales a year. So that's the bonus dialogue I want to give you. You know, it's simple, it's short, but it's the simple, short things that are probably the most powerful things out there that you could possibly use. All right, gang? So now, I drew a picture of a face, and now we have to learn how to change their feelings. And the way that we change their feelings is one step at a time. You got it. So here's the psychological process. The first step, number 1, is to cushion. You want to cushion the objection by saying something like, oh, I can appreciate how you feel, or I understand, I know other people have felt the same way. So you want to cushion the objection. You want to say something that shows them that you're not in a mode of where you're going to argue with them. You follow me, gang?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So the second step is to question it. And what I mean by question, you say, just to clarify my thinking, you know, we don't want to pay you 7%, John. Okay, I can certainly understand how you feel. You probably want to save money. But let me ask you a question. Really, you're not concerned about the 7%. You're concerned about the difference between my someone else's 6% and my 7%. So then you go to step number 3 and you isolate it and you say, so in other words, it's really about the 1%, isn't it? So you isolate the objection. You also isolate it by saying, is that the only thing that's preventing you from making this decision? Is it the 1%? Is that the only thing that's preventing you from making the decision? And we're gonna go through this a little more in detail, but part of isolating it, you want to use the dialogue. If I could show you blank, would you list with me? In other words, I understand how you feel about paying about the 7%. Let me ask you a question. Is it really about the 7%, or is it the difference between 6 and 7%? So we're really talking about 1%, isn't it? Aren't we? Is that the only thing for helping you make a decision tonight? Is the fact that there's a 1% difference in my fee? And if I could show you that by paying me 1% more, you would net more money in your pocket, would you list with me? That's isolating it, okay? The next step is to handle it but I'm going to put a big V here, gang, and that V stands for handle it with a V.
Vibe.
A view? Is that what you just did?
A victory.
A visual.
A visual.
Wow.
Remember, a picture's worth $1,000, right? Handle it with a visual. So, let me show you something that I think will change your mind. Here is the multiple listing service list to sale ratio. Average list to sale is about 94% of the sale price. Mine is 96%. So that you see by listing with me, and I show them the visual. Here it is on paper. The difference between what I get for my sellers versus what the average agent gets for their sellers is 2%. So you can see by listing with me, right, and here you go for the close, which is C, and you see by listing with me, you're actually going to net 1% more in your pocket. Can you see doesn't that make all the difference in the world? Right, gang? That makes a difference, doesn't it? So you have the visual. And then, as the end of your close, you ask the best two-word closing question in the world, which is, help me out.
Any
Any
questions?
Any questions? Any questions?
So how do you say they're gonna get 1% more if they pay more?
Well, if they,
Or 2% or whatever it is?
yes,
Let's say
because
for
I show them,
1%.
I show them in the multiple listing service. My average list to sell ratio on my listings is 96%, and the average in the multiple listing service for the average agent is only 94%.
How do you get that?
I can show you. It's right in MLS. Now, you have to do your own personal statistics. Let's say yours is less than MLS. Then maybe what you want to do is use your office's list to sale ratio.
Yeah.
Or if that doesn't work, why don't you take the top 5 agents in your office and tell the seller, the top 5 agents in my office, whom I work very closely with, get 98% of their list to sale price ratio. In other words, if a property sells for $100,000 and they sell it at 98% of the list price, what are they selling the property at? $98,000. The average in the multiple listing service is only 96. Okay? The difference between the two numbers is 2%. I'm only asking you to pay me 1% more. You get the extra 1% in your pocket by listing with me. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you're going to net an additional 1% in your pocket. Can you see how that would make a difference?
I don't see. They gotta want to know
Okay? So now,
They don't ask what those numbers really are. Or,
look,
I mean, if they really look at it, they could say, well, that's because the other realtors are overpricing their houses.
and they may have.
Or you were
But,
underpricing yours.
but why would I get so many referrals if I had a habit of doing that, you know? And wouldn't I be leaving more money on the table if I were underpricing my listings? You see, I get paid a percentage of what the property sells for. And so why would I ever want to underprice a property? More importantly, how could I possibly underprice your property when I'm showing you the 3 comparable properties that meet your listing and show you the actual value of your property? I didn't put those numbers in there, nor did I come in with a legal pad saying, I think you should sell your house for this amount of money. I gave you proof and fact-based information to make a decision on what you want to price your home at, and I've done that with all my sellers. I can tell you what I have done. I haven't taken any listings that are overpriced. So if a seller says to me, I want to price it here, and it's the value's here, I won't take the listing. And maybe that's what skews the numbers, right? So I give them, I'll tell them, I'll agree with them on all those accounts, you know, and I'll talk to them about each one of those areas. But, you know, I can understand how you feel about, you know, that you think that I might be underpricing my listings in order to get them sold faster and for the most amount of money. The question is, if I were to, just to clarify my thinking, is that a concern for you? And if I could prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that I don't underprice my listings, I'm isolating now, would you list with me? If I could prove it to you, right? Well, let me show you the market analysis. And I pull out the market analysis as my visual, and I say, see, these are what your 3 properties sold for, okay? And therefore, the value of your property is X amount of dollars. If you know what the value of your property is, and you choose what you price it for, I certainly can't control underpricing the listing. That's something that's your choice, and that's something I obviously couldn't and wouldn't do. Any questions? No? And then what I simply do is I hand them the pen, direct their signature, and then what? Shut.
Make their hand
You're
move.
setting your limit.
Be quiet, right?
Yeah.
Push the
Right?
button.
And hand them the pen.
Right, push your hand.
So you see, you know, like I didn't know he was going to give me that objection, but I use this process, right, to handle the objection, right? Okay, so now, give me an example, and here's what I'd like you to do. Take what you have right there in front of you, your most feared objection, and I want you all to work on the cushioning statement right now. So we're only going to work on the cushioning statement, all right? And so you might want to start it off with, I can appreciate how you feel, right?
But.
Don't say but, right? Right. I can appreciate how you feel. Other people have felt the same way, so I'll give you a chance to write that out, because I'm going to ask you to share your dialogue, and we're going to do a little bit of a role play, and I'm going to ask you to share. And we're all going to critique your.
Good.
We're going to critique you. We're going to say, well, wait a minute, you know, that really isn't cushioning it, or you know, we're going to help you to come up with your own. Because my promise to you was the fact that you were going to come in with an objection, and I was going to I'll show you how to handle it. Okay? I wasn't going to handle it for you. I'm going to show you how to do it yourself, and of course, I'll help you along the way. Now, the question part, getting to the cue, just to clarify my thinking. And then you want to add in a who, what, where, when, how, why. Let me give you an example. John, what's your objection?
Oh, lower prices.
What do
A
you mean?
lower offer.
What do you mean? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
What's my question?
Yeah, like, no, not your question, but I'm sorry. What is your objection that a seller would give you that you wrote down?
Well, I actually took a buyer's viewpoint.
Perfect, yep, okay.
And I put a lower offer. I have one that I'm working with right now that insists on putting.
Okay, I
An
get
offer
you.
in.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. So the buyer's saying to you, John, I want to put in a lower offer, right?
Yeah.
I can certainly appreciate how you feel. You want to get the best value, don't you?
Yeah.
Right? That's cushioning it, so they know I'm not arguing with them. I'm not going to argue with them. Just to clarify my thinking, what is it about the full price that concerns you? And then let them tell you, right? Isolated, is that the only thing preventing you from making a full price offer on the property? Right? And they say yes. If I could prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that the property was worth more than the asking price, would you put in a full price offer? Well, yeah. Then I pull out, as a buyer's agent, I pull out a market analysis for the property, and I show them that the property is worth more than what they're asking. Okay? Or maybe it's worth a little less. Maybe it's worth exactly what they're asking. But by doing that, you're going to get them to come in with a realistic offer. And let's say your realistic offer is $10,000 below the market price. Well, you could use that visual with the co-broke. And you could say to the co-broke, listen, I know it's $10,000 less. When the co-broke says to you, geez, it's not full price, what are you doing to me? You can use this technique on the co-broke. Well, I can certainly appreciate how you feel. I've had listings where people have come in at a lower price as well. But just to clarify my thinking, what is it about the difference in the price between what my buyer is offering and the asking price that concerns you? Well, a seller's never going to take that. I don't think they'll ever take that. Well, let me ask you a question. If we could prove to the seller that the property was worth what my offer is at, do you think you and I could make a sale here together, as co-broke this deal together and make a sale? And well, I don't know, maybe. Well, let me show you something that I think will change the seller's mind, and then use a visual. Email it to them, fax it to them, and say, listen, I've provided with 3 comparable properties that the buyer has looked at and comparing the value of their property to this property, and they've come up with this figure. as to why they're justifying their figure. If you could share this with the seller, this might get the deal closed together. Any questions? You see, I'm even using this technique with my co-brokes, right? And so, getting back to the process, gang, because we're all working on our objection now. Number 2 is, just to clarify my thinking, who, what, when, where, why. Does anybody want to volunteer their, what they have down there? Yes.
Well, I put down, because people have asked me this, they'll say to me, you've only been in it a short time, why should I go with you?
Right.
Okay? And so I would start with saying, yeah, I know how you feel. What really concerns you, though? I was going to tell them that
Just
a lot of people have been, clarify what you really mean by that. And then once they tell me that, say, well, there's a lot of people who have been in it for 30 years, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're good at what they're doing or that they're buying and selling a lot of things.
Okay. So what we want to do is we want to put that in the process, okay?
Yeah.
So we're going to reword all that you just said, okay?
Okay.
But we're going to put it in a process to bring them through the psychological process of changing the way they feel about hiring a new agent, okay? And there are 2 ways. We can knock the competition or we can build ourselves up, and sometimes you have to do both. Sometimes one or the other works. But, so just to clarify my thinking, what is it that concerns you about hiring a newer agent? And then listen, okay? Listen to what they say. And then you say to them, so the only thing from preventing you from making a decision right now is you're not sure that I have all the experience necessary to get your home sold. Am I hearing you correctly?
Right.
Right? And so you're asking a question. If I could prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that you'd make more money in your pocket by hiring me, Judy Cohen, than you would hiring a 30-year veteran in the industry, would you list with me?
Absolutely.
You would? Okay, great. Let me show you something. Right?
Yeah, right.
And then you have a visual. See, remember what I shared with you about your listing presentation. At the end of your listing presentation book, you should have visuals for any objection anyone could possibly give you. And what happens is you start accumulating these visuals. And then you can start using these visuals for different people and different things. Yeah, you could show them your certificates. See, I'm freshly trained. And you show them all your certificates from these workshops. And you say, you know, what's more important to you, as someone who's up to date on the current laws to keep you out of trouble, or someone who's been doing this a long time ago? You see, if somebody was in the business for 30 years and they went to training 30 years ago, let me ask you a question. If someone in your industry, what industry are you? Well, I'm in the shoe industry. Have shoes changed in 30 years? Have the marketing of shoes changed? Well, if somebody's in your business isn't keeping up to date on the current trends in technology in terms of what's going on and how we're doing it and communicating using blogs and emails and websites, and let me show you how I do that, right? And you have all the visuals. Let me show you all the places on the internet that I'm going to put your home. And isn't it more important that your home get more exposure? You see, there's no difference between an experienced agent and a new agent. The difference is between agents, are they active or inactive? I'm an active agent, and that's the type of agent you want to get your home sold, isn't it? Any questions? All you need to do is sign here, and I'll get the sign in the yard in a few days, and then pack up. Okay?
Right.
You see how what I said was different than what you said?
Right.
I brought them through the psychological process. I used the visual to handle it. See, because otherwise what's happening, gang, is we're out there, we're handling objections, but we're just using words. And the words, it's almost like we're saying, trust me.
Or trying too hard just to convince them, and you're not really
Yeah.
convincing them.
Yeah, because you're not convinced.
Right.
You're not truly convinced. Yes, Claire.
You go to a seller's home and they say to you, look, I want to interview 3 people.
Yes.
And there are 3 people that are their top agents in the company. And you're telling me that you want to charge me 7%.
Yes.
And one says 6%, and the other one says 5%. And I happen to know that they are all very good agents, have made a number of sales. I'm impressed with your presentation, but to be honest, I was also impressed with their presentation. Why should I pay you 7% when I have to pay the other one either 6 or 5? That's more money in my pocket, and to be honest with you, I had planned on buying some new furniture. So the difference between the 5 and the 7 is going to give me more money, and possibly I can buy that furniture.
Absolutely, that would be like a 1 or 2% difference,
Right.
correct? Okay. Let me explain to you, certainly, I can certainly appreciate how you feel, Claire. I mean, when you look at the bottom line, you see the realtor's commission, and you're thinking,
Right.
well, that money's coming out of my pocket. So just to clarify my thinking is that if we could agree on commission and help you get the most amount of money in your pocket, because that's what concerns you the most, would you list with me?
Well, to be honest with you, they pretty much gave me the same presentation.
Well, they haven't told you what I'm about to tell you, though. So let me ask you a question. If I could prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that I could help you net more money in your pocket than my competitors could, would you list with me?
If you could prove it.
If I could prove it? Because I know it's a tall order, but let me show you something that I think will change your mind. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with them a formula. And the formula is marketing services equals more exposure equals more prospects equal more money for your property. And so then what I would do is I would show you what's called a comparative. I'd have a comparative chart, right? And what I would do is I'd have all these grids set up on the page. And we're going to go through this next seminar. If you look at the next page on your handout, right, Claire, you're right on track. It says competing with the other broker. We're going to go into this in detail next week of specifically how to take the listing away from other brokers. But let me not keep you in suspense and handle your objection, okay? Because I told you I'd be able to prove to you. Would you agree with this basic principle? In other words, the more marketing services that you can market a product, whether it's your home, a pair of sneakers, or an automobile, the more people spend money on marketing this product, right, the more exposure you're going to get on it. Would you agree with that principle, right? Now, the more anything is exposed to the marketplace, to the world, the more people are going to be interested. Would you agree with that premise, right? What happens if you go to an auction and there are 1,000 people versus 2 people? What happens to the price of the object? What? Goes what? Goes up, right? I mean, if you had 2 people at an auction, and then at one auction, and then you had 1,000 people at another auction, it was the same item. Let's say it was a pair of shoes that John F. Kennedy wore when he was golfing, right? And only 2 people showed up for the auction. The starting bid was $5. Someone said 10, another person said 11, 15, sold for $15. What if there were 1,000 people there? What do you think those shoes would sell for?
Yeah, much more.
Right?
5,000.
So would you agree with the principle that the more the more marketing services? So Claire, let me ask you a question. Doesn't it make sense now to list your home with the agent who's going to do the most marketing on the property? Because that person will get you the most amount of money for your house. In fact, if they can get you just 1 or 2% more for your home, that would give you the furniture that you need. Wouldn't you agree? Right? Okay. So let me compare everything that I do with my company compared to what everyone else does at their company for their marketing services. See, I have 31 items that I complete, and my nearest competitor, only has 27. And the third company that you said you interviewed, they don't even make the top 4 companies on the list of what they do for marketing services. So let me ask you a question. Out of all these services that you see on this list, what one service do you think will sell your home? See, you don't know if it's going to be the brochure box in front of your home or the open house because it hasn't happened yet. So here's the risk that you run, Claire. Unfortunately, if you list with any of my competitors that you've already interviewed, and your home was meant to sell by the fact that they're using a brochure box on their sign and they're not using a brochure box, your home might not never sell. Never mind sell for 1 or 2% more. So my point is that if you list with a competitor, you're not going to pay them 5 or 6%. If they don't get your home sold, you're going to pay them what? 0, right? Now, so you can see that by using my company that it would get you. I'm using the visual. Do you have any questions? Say no. It's pretty much in the bag. I mean, there it is. All you need to do now is simply sign this form, and I'll get the sign in a couple of days. And Claire still says to me, though, she's tough. She says, "Yeah, but John, how do I know you're going to get more money for my property?" Well, let me show you something. I can certainly understand that you still might have a concern. Let me ask you a question. If I could, again, just prove to you how I can get you more money. Certainly you agree with the formula, right? You see that I'm doing more marketing than anyone else, right? So how do I convince you that I'm going to get you more property, even beyond this? Let me show you something that I think will change your mind. Then I take out another visual. See, you might not be able to handle the objection just with one visual. You might need several visuals to handle this, but still go through the process. Then I show Claire the list to sell price ratio that I talked about just a minute ago. You see, Claire, this is the list to sell price ratio. This explains to us exactly what we list it for versus what we sell it for. As you can see, I've done a list to sell ratio on the top 4 competitors in the Longmeadow market. One is at 96, one is at 94, one is at 95. The top 5 agents in my office, and by the way, when you list your property with me, you're not just listing it with me, you're listing it with my entire Longmeadow office, and you're getting the benefit of the top 5 producers in my office as well as me marketing your home. So if you look at our list to sell price ratio, it's 98.5% is what we're getting from our list price versus our sale price. So by listing with us, you're literally getting, depending on which competitor, 2, 3, or 4% more, and I'm only charging 1 or 2% more than my competitor, depending who you're going with. More importantly, if they're not charging money, Claire, they can't afford. My marketing plan is nothing to sneeze at, by the way. But if you list with them, they might not have all the marketing services, and they may not get your home sold. Never mind getting it sold for the most amount of money. So that you see, by paying me more, you can literally net more money in your pocket. Can I list your home? Right? You see, gang?
And I also think when you give your presentation and you say, sign here, I feel they're thinking, boy, is he pushy.
Yes, and now that might be an objection. And actually, there was an agent or office who got that as an objection. And they say, and let's say I go to hand you the pen, Claire, and you stand there and you don't take the pen. You sit on your hands and you say, boy, are you pushy? And then I say to you, I can certainly appreciate how you feel. Right? That I might be pushy. Let me ask you a question. What is it about me being pushy that concerns you?
Well, to tell you the truth, I think I'd like to think about it.
Okay, that's a whole other objection handling technique. All right, I can go there too. I can certainly appreciate the fact that you want to think it over. And just let me ask you a question. Since I'm here now, there are typically 3 things that people want to think over when they want to think something over. Number 1 is it me or my company? Is that a concern for you? And then she says yes. Then I'll handle the objection. I said, is it the price on the home? Is it that you feel that we're not priced properly?
No, I think it's priced properly, but to be honest with you, as I said, I wanted to interview 3 people,
Okay.
and you're the second one, and I'm
Yes.
impressed with your presentation, but I'd like to hear what the third agent has to say before I make a decision.
Okay, yeah. And I would definitely want to make sure that I check out all my options before I make a decision as large as making a decision for a home. So just to clarify my thinking, what you want to do is you want to compare what my services are compared to what my
Right.
competitors are doing.
Right.
And so certainly that makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you a question. Out of all the things that I showed you so far, would you hire me versus the last agent you interviewed?
I think you're pretty much equal.
Equal? What is it that I would have to do differently in order to?
Well, I feel that you're a little bit too pushy.
A little bit too pushy. Okay, no, I can appreciate that, and I've heard that before. Actually, I'd like to consider myself this, if you don't mind me saying, pleasantly aggressive. And Claire, let me ask you a question. What are you hiring to get something sold? You're hiring a what? A salesperson.
Oh, a professional.
A professional. A professional is a professional salesperson who helps people make a decision by using techniques to help them make a decision that they're going to thank me for later on. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't give people a little gentle nudge every now and then, because I know it's going to be in their best interest. You know something, Claire? I feel like we've built up a pretty good rapport, and I know that you think I'm a little pushy. But you know what? What we have to do is we have to give people a little gentle nudge if we know that it's going to be the best thing for them. Let me give you an example, Claire. I know in my heart of hearts that if you hired me instead of one of my competitors, you'd be extremely happy. I also know that if you hire one of my competitors instead of me, that you're going to be disappointed, and I know for a fact, based on the visuals that I've shown you, that you'll probably end up netting less money in your pocket because they're not willing, or they don't have the guts to give that little gentle nudge that they need to give the buyers and sellers in order to get the job done. You see, you're hiring a salesperson, you're hiring someone, a professional salesperson, someone who will get the job done. The difference between a professional and the average real estate agent versus a pushy real estate agent is someone who gets the job done for you. If I don't have the guts to give anyone a gentle nudge, then I'm not going to be able to do the best job for them, and they're not going to have the opportunity of hiring the best agent that's out there. So my heart is in the right place. I know that my company is the best. I know that I provide the best marketing services out of anyone out there in the market. And if I don't push, someone's going to end up with less quality, and they're going to regret it. So I know in my heart that if I give you a little gentle nudge, that I'll be able to help you out better than anyone else. And let me show you some testimonial letters from some people that did think I was a little pushy, but they hired me anyway. And look what they had to say: visual, 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 right? Visual. In fact, let me do this, Claire. I don't mind. I have 7 listings that I've listed in Longmeadow right now. I'm going to get on my speakerphone, and I'm going to call one of my sellers right now. And I call him up. I said, "Hi, Harry. This is John. Listen, I'm at another customer's house in Longmeadow, and I was wondering, and I have you on speakerphone. I know you're at work, so I won't take up too much of your time. The woman I'm meeting with, her name is Claire, and she has a concern that I'm a little too pushy. And I just wanted to ask you, what did you think? What do you think about my services so far? I've had your listing now for 30 days. It's now currently under agreement. How do you feel about the performance that I've done so far?" Now, Claire's listening. Claire's sitting at her table like, "I can't believe this guy." Right?
Yeah.
He really is pushy.
And you know what?
Really
And,
Get him out of my house
In a good
now.
way.
Sick of dogs.
but I'm doing it with a smile. And and listen, I'm not stopping. I'm pleasantly what?
Aggressive.
Persistent, not aggressive.
You said
Pleasantly
aggressive.
You
persistent.
said aggressive before I wrote it down.
I did too.
I said
Pleasantly-
pleasantly aggressive.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. I
But
apologize.
that's okay.
I meant to
You
say
said-
pleasantly persistent. That's what I meant to say. Pleasantly persistent. So if somebody accuses you of being pushy, you just smile at them and say, "I like to refer to myself as being pleasantly persistent." You know where I got that dialect from? A seller told me that. She said, "You're different." She said, she didn't call me pushy, Claire. She said, "You're pleasantly persistent." And I thought, I'm going to use that. I like that. I'm pleasantly persistent. And because really, again, you can see the tonality in my voice, the facial expressions that I have. I'm not pushy. I'm not going to insult anybody in any way by the way I'm doing it and how I'm doing it. Because you know why? I care. I want to help them.
Yes.
And I have all this proof to show them why they would be better off hiring me than someone else. Okay? So, did you guys like that little role play?
Yes.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to sell you right now on you. I'm trying to sell you on you that you can do this. You can make it happen. And all I'm doing is simply using this. And here's the thing that I might know more than you know right now. And it's only one thing, is I might know more visuals to use than you know.
Right.
Like you might not know, what visual would I use when I'm competing with another broker? What visual would I use if I want to show them I can get their property sold for more money than someone else? You might have not learned until today about the formula. Okay? Okay? So you need to just brush up on those things. And what I'm going to do right now today is we're going to go through each of your objections, and we're going to help you so that when you leave this room today, or if you're watching this video, you're going to go through this process and you're going to be able to handle your most feared objection. If you can handle your most feared objection, what will you do with other objections? Well, you'll just eat those for breakfast, won't you? Right?
What was the I'm sorry, I had a phone call, so I wasn't able to hear the USEP.
Marketing services, the more
Yes,
marketing
MS.
service you have, the
M.
more exposure you have. The
Uh,
more exposure you have, the more prospects. The more prospects you have, the more
Money.
value and more money you can get
Okay.
for a property. And, I would say to Claire, what is the name of the other company that you're hiring? And she said, oh, it's the Blue Company. Well, actually, look at the Blue Company. This is everything that they do for marketing right here. Why don't I do this, Claire? It's obvious that my company does more marketing than that company does, so let me save you the time and aggravation of going through a pushy or maybe a boring presentation with that company. And here's what I'll do. I'm friends with all the agents in the market area. Why don't I do this? I don't mind. Why don't I give that agent a call and just tell them that, I was really pushy and I got you to list with me instead of them, and save you the aggravation of giving them a call. And I'll give them a call. And here's what I'll do for them, because they did have an appointment. Once I get it into the multiple listing service, I'll call that agent right away and let them know that the property is in the multiple listing service, and they'll have the first opportunity to show your property should they have a buyer. And I'll handle the sale on your side, and they'll handle the sale for the buyer. That's fair, isn't it?
What a nice guy.
Yeah. What a nice
Yeah,
guy.
well, and then agent getting that call is probably crying or.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I've gotten that call from agents, okay? Call me up. I had one guy called me up, and he said to me, hey, John, I just got a listing. I'm like, oh, great. He goes, yeah, guess what? It's on 31 Pinewood Street. And I looked at my schedule. I'm like, I was shocked. I'm like, I'm going there this afternoon at 4 o'clock. And he said, yeah, I got the listing. I told him this is how they handled it. She said, this is what he did. They said, oh, we're going to interview another agent at 4 o'clock, so we can't list with you. You know what he said to them? What's the agent's name? And they said, oh, John Miller. John Miller sells tons of houses. Listen, John and I are good buddies. And he's telling me this now, right? He says, John and I are good buddies. I've known him for years. We work together all the time. I tell you what, you list with me, and I'll tell John Miller right away, and we can both work on the sale. And they said, okay. And they listed with them. They didn't even talk to me. That's all it took to get them. Now, I was a top agent in the area, okay? That's all it took to get them to list with the other broker. Okay, gang? So in real world, sometimes it's easy as that. Okay? Now, let's go into your dialogues. Now, I asked you to ask a question, then you want to isolate it, and then, so if you would, please write down, because I'm going to ask you to read your whole objection handling technique. And that is that the, when you get to the third part, is that the only thing preventing you from making a decision? You may have already written that down, right?
That was the third one.
It's under item 3.
This one you got in here.
Okay. My thing is all written.
Is that the only thing preventing you from making a decision? And underneath that, you'd say, if I could show you blank, would you list with me? And if you're not sure what you could show them, leave it blank and we'll give you some help in terms of what you could use to show them.
I wondered if you could do something for us when you're naming these companies.
Yes.
Could you, in your spare time, get these companies, write them? We used to have that.
Yeah.
And then with all the things to the left to say, we do this, we do that.
Yeah.
But the other company, they don't do that. They don't have an insurance.
Yep.
They don't have this. Because we don't know all those things.
Right.
You
Here's
know?
the deal. You would know better than I do, because you're out there in the field every day knowing what the other companies do. And you know, let me put it this way, you know just as much as I do. Now, I've emailed you all, and I will do it again. I will email you the comparison flow chart again that lists all of the services that you can put on the left-hand side. And when I've emailed this to everyone, here's what some agents have done. They took a lot of things out because they didn't want to do a lot of those things. And some people added some things because they do want to do those things. And then you have to pick, you know, the companies that you're competing with the most. You put them up there, and of course you have a bunch of things that you do that they don't do, and it's pretty simple. Well, I'll work with you one-on-one on it. Yeah,
You know?
I'll work with you.
Oh,
Well, the other companies do. I don't know what the
Yeah.
other companies
We don't
I mean,
know.
I can.
I
We
could
can
be
find out.
lying to say, you know what I mean?
No,
They
and you
do
wouldn't
that,
lie.
they-
You just pick up the things that you know for a fact that they're not doing.
I could tell
You know?
what I could do.
Let me give you an example. If I'm using brochure boxes, does all of the blue company use brochure boxes? No, they don't.
But does all of our company use brochure
No, we
boxes?
No, they don't, but do you?
No.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So it's
you're
on your
saying-
list. You know, I'm just giving you one example, just one. You know?
Yeah.
We offer all of home services. Well, our top 2 competitors also offer mortgage and insurance and home warranty, right?
Yeah.
But the third person, and that's the person that's coming in after me, they don't have home services. We are part of the largest, you know, our top 2 competitors belong to a referral relocation network. The third one doesn't, but do they belong to the largest relocation network in the country? And we do, and they don't. could that make a potential
Do you know
difference in
that
getting your
we do
property?
those?
Yes, yes.
Better than Caldwell?
It's all in our brochures, yeah. We take the information that's in our listing presentation right now, and you can use that in your listing presentation
They've
kit.
got a good
And I'll
deal
walk
of
through
it.
it, each one, step by step with you. I will help you do that if that's what
Okay.
you need to do.
All right.
So let's get back on track.
On our
here.
day off.
yes,
we'll
yes.
do
Now,
that.
if I could, are we all together?
Okay.
Let's do this. If I could show you blank, would you
Okay.
list with me? If I could show you blank, would you list with me? And then you write down the words, let me show you something that will help you,
Decide.
whatever it is, right? Let me show you something that will help you.
Close.
And then after that, after you show them what it is you show them, you might want to say something like, that makes all the difference, doesn't it? And then you'd say, any questions? Okay, so I've basically given you most of the words. Now I want you folks to fill in the blanks. Who wants to go first?
I just want to say
Sure.
something I
Yeah.
did, and it's bragging.
Great, I love it, yeah.
It's being pushy. They said that they were going to see, think of other realtors to compare. So then the fellow said to me, he said, so how long have you been a realtor? Oh, I said, 19, 20 years, which is true. And then he said, so did you go to college and all that? I said, yes. I said, I went to college, and I also have my master's. And I said, I have my master's in economics. So I said, I love the finance part. Very often I have to help the buyer from the other company to tell them that, the price they're thinking of, if they went by month, it would be even just $2 each, then the other person hadn't even thought of that. And I said, so we come up with some ideas. And then I talk about the company to say what we did. But that little thing, sort of helped me.
Sure.
Because the fellow was the one that was wanting to know,
Yeah.
what schooling do you have and where you're from and blah, blah.
Right. Wanted to learn more about you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, that's great. Great job. So who wants to go first?
I got a really scary one.
All right, Louise, go for it.
We don't want anything to do with real estate agents.
This must be a for sale by owner?
Yes, it
Or
is.
expired or something? Okay.
No, we don't
So
want
that-
anything to do with you guys.
So that's their objection. Now, everybody follow this formula, and let's see if Louise is following the formula. Okay, so start off, Louise. What do you say first?
I said, I can appreciate how you feel. This is a tough market as it is. Just to clarify my thinking, what is it exactly that concerns you? And isolating, is it really about the marketing fee? Is that the only thing preventing you from making a decision to hire a real estate agent?
So in other words, their objection was, what is it about the answer to their question was the
the
fee.
marketing fee, right? They
marketing
don't want to
fee.
pay the money.
Okay, so is that the thing? So now you've isolated, and they say, yes, it is the only thing, and then you say,
If I could show you that by hiring me, I could put more money in your pocket in less time, would you listen to me? Would you talk to me? Or would you
yeah,
what? Would
yeah,
you-
we'd talk to you. I mean, if you could show me, sure.
But let me, now what would I use for a visual? Let me show you something. I don't know what.
Well, you would use what our for sale by owner presentation. If you don't have
Okay,
it, email
yes,
me
I
and
do
I'll
have
email
it.
to you.
I have it. I bring it with me.
Yep.
I give it to them, but I don't
Show-
show it to,
you
I
have
have
to
to
show
show
it.
What is
it.
it?
Yes.
Okay, I have them in my car.
Right.
Soon as
The three facts.
Right,
Real estate agents have been in the
100 years.
Yes.
70% of for sale by owners eventually do list with a real estate agent.
Yes.
And I can't remember the third one.
So you already said it. More money in less time.
More money in less time.
Those are three facts.
I got
Okay.
a fourth one.
Yes.
You
what's
do.
that?
Before, I did stats in Chicopee, and houses sold through realtors sold for about 14% higher than.
Yep. So there it goes.
Houses
getting more
sold
money.
for a
right?
realtor.
Yeah. I just
14%
took the
higher.
numbers from MLS and I just took them from.
Now, where
public
did you
record.
find that on MLS?
Well, you can just download all the solds.
How'd you figure out the percentage? Did you do the math yourself, or did
Yeah,
they do
I
it
just
for
put it in a
you?
little spreadsheet. And
Oh,
then
a
I took the same from the public records and and I kind of matched up which
So
ones
is that where
weren't
you
sold.
find the for sale by owners, is by, in public records?
Well, it shows all the sales, but then you
Shows all
gotta
the
weed out
sales.
which
You have
ones
to
were by
weed.
MLS.
Okay.
Yeah, how they show.
I was able to do it. Someone might be able to do it better, but I was able to do it. And
Yeah, but that's a visual, that's something
You know,
can
it's
use
nice
to
to
show.
go through this dialogue and say it, but
Yes.
the person that I had, that said this to me said, I don't wanna talk to you.
And that's okay.
And you're gonna get
You know,
some like that.
Yeah.
you know.
And you know what? You are definitely going to get some like that. There's no doubt about it. But that's a condition. It's
So I
not an
decided to
objection.
mail a letter.
You know? Yeah. You know, or you could be pleasantly persistent and say, you know, what is it about talking to me about it that bothers you?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity. You know what I mean?
Often they say it's because they've had a bad experience.
Right.
They say, well,
Or they think we're all very
yeah.
pushy and da 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 da.
So you see,
know what
that
the close-
happens in life. People get bad experience, but you don't stop at that.
Let me. You want to hear? This is a good dialogue. You just reminded me of a good one, Mark.
Okay.
You know, I can understand you've had a bad experience with other real estate agents. Just to clarify my thinking, you know, a little bit and help you to understand. Tell me about your bad experience. Well, you know, and they vent and they talk about it and they tell you all the stuff that's going wrong. So is that the only thing preventing you from making a decision? Is you're afraid that another agent is going to do the same thing? Am I right? Yeah. Let me show you something that I think will change your mind about this. Do me a favor. If you would, take this marker and sign my name. Just write John Miller right here, as if you're signing it. Okay, now watch this. You ready? Real estate agents, we're all in the same industry, right? But we all get different results. Art, we use the same marker. We wrote the same words, but wildly different results. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with real estate agents. We're not all the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So can we talk? You know, any questions?
Well, I'll try it for a little while myself. Then maybe I'll call you after.
Sure, no problem. Right?
Mhm.
And then, you know, for sale by owner, sometimes you
You
have to go back
Yeah. I
6,
do.
7 times,
Yeah.
you know, before you get it. But
Yeah.
way to go, Mark. That's awesome. So anyway, I wanted to share that closing
Yeah.
technique with you. If somebody says to you, well, we already use someone in your company. There's a for sale by owner, you know, somewhere down the road, and they've already listed with a company. You drive by and say, oh, they were already listed with us. Use the pen close. And
Right,
the pen.
try different.
Say, listen, same company, 2 different
Helps them
realtors, 2
remember your
different
name
results,
too.
right? Right? 2 different results.
Usually we don't run after the ones that have been of our company.
We don't know what to say. That we're afraid that if we go after the ones that were with our company previously, that they're not going to list with us because they've already used our company.
I didn't think we should do it. But
Yeah, do we owe any courtesy to the
Yes, I thought-
expired listing
Yeah.
broker, the
They didn't make it work the other
Agent,
time.
yeah.
I know, but
Expired
I thought
listing
that's
agent.
what we had learned. That,
That's the ethical
Mhm.
piece. No, we know.
It's not in the code of ethics, gang.
Okay,
No,
What
okay.
you're describing is in-office courtesy.
right,
Right.
okay.
And here's what I might do. I might say, Judy, you know what, that listing you had over on Primrose that just expired, I was thinking about giving them a call to see if I could list it. Maybe you and I could work together on it. Are you still talking to them? I mean, can you actually have a conversation with them? I mean, if you can get me an appointment with them, why don't we do this? Why don't I will give you 10% a referral fee if you can just get me in the door and introduce me and maybe refer it over to me. And I'll list it. At least you get 10% because right now another company's going to list it and you're not going to get anything. Would you rather get nothing or would you rather get 10%? Would you help me get the listing?
I would
And
like
Judy might-
20%.
Yeah, 40%.
Yeah,
And I would say,
that's-
you know what? That's okay. I'll just call them myself. See what I can do.
Whoa.
Don't be so greedy. You know, because again, it's what my point is that have some courtesy if you'd like, and do that. And but they lost the listing, gang. It's gone, and And so what would be good if I had Judy, if Judy was able to call the seller and say, listen, I know that I didn't get the job done, but I still believe we're with the best company out there, and I'm going to refer you to another agent. I'd like you to talk to John before you make a decision of what you do next, because I think you'll be impressed.
Okay.
And then they say, well, I don't know, I guess so. When's the best time to do this? About 2 weeks prior to the listing expiring, not after it expires. Because now, if you've got a listing and it's expiring, why not get 20, 25%? If Mark went to Art and said, Art, I've got a listing, it's expiring in 2 weeks, these people, they've been beating me up, I can't seem to get them to get the price down, I know that's what it's going to take to sell it, but I just can't seem to get through to these folks. I'm going to refer it to you. If you list it, I want you to pay me a 25% referral fee. Will you do that? Art, what would you say?
Sure.
Sure. I thought you were going to say no, 10%. But anyway, and if you did, Mark would have went to John, right? And said, John, this is inspiring. So Art says, sure. So Mark says, hold on, don't go anywhere. And she calls her seller on the phone and says, listen, the listing's expiring in 2 weeks. You need to meet with a gentleman in my company. His name is Art. Your listing is in Chicopee. He happens to live in Chicopee and specializes in the area, and I think he might be able to do something for you that I can't. It takes a lot of guts to say that. I think he may be able to do something for you that I have not been able to do. The listing's going to expire in 2 weeks. When can Art stop by and meet with you to talk about getting your property sold? And then Mark makes the appointments. Art goes. He has visuals. He has a new market analysis. He's got a new spin on the marketing program. He's telling them that they need to get a stager and have professional photos taken and all this stuff. And the seller gets this new enthusiasm. We extend the listing agreement, change the person's name. It never expires, so we don't lose momentum, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. We want to do that, right? You don't get harassed by all these bozo agents out there in the marketplace. And then behind the scenes, Mark gets a 25% referral fee rather than losing the listing totally. Is that a good idea, gang?
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's why you come to these workshops.
But I don't know that the realtor that first had it is
Gonna be
that
so amenable to it,
kind. So, yeah, because I've tried that
I'm giving
before.
you the suggestion, if you have the listing, I'm giving you an opportunity of what you can do personally if it's your listing and it's about to expire. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For you to make some extra money.
Yeah, but if it's the other way, that I'm telling the lister that I would like to, list to
Yes.
her listing that is going to expire and all that, and she's not going to go and say, no, I'm not going to call her. I've had enough with her.
Right.
You're on your own. Blah
If
blah
you can,
blah.
and then I would say, okay, no problem. I'm going to give her a call,
Yeah.
and I'd give the seller a call.
Yeah, because at least then you've offered her the opportunity.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because they're not too prone to.
The agent in your office says, you better not call them. I'm going to relist it. Oh, no,
Problem.
no problem.
No problem.
And then don't
Okay.
call them. I just wanted to give you the courtesy first,
Yeah.
and ask you.
Yeah.
What if somebody, let's say that you've listed, not that you've listed a house, but if you've been working with a buyer and working with a buyer and working with a buyer, okay? And then you go away, and so you say to somebody, will you help me out with it, okay? So then the person helps you out with it. What happens with that? I mean, then you split it, but what
No,
happens?
first of all, you agree on it before you do it.
Right,
You agree on the price first of who's going
Okay.
to do what, how, why, when, and where, and for how much.
okay.
That's the first step.
And what about afterwards? Let's say that the home is sold, okay, and you're both working on it together at that point. You've come back, you're working on it, the place is sold. Then who gets the credit for selling it as far as production goes?
Who listed it?
Pardon me? No, you're dealing with a buyer.
Oh, a buyer.
Yeah.
Well, again, I would agree on that first prior to doing it. I mean,
But
It's
maybe
one
there's
could
not
be
an
you,
agreement.
it's you, the one that has been working with that person.
it seems like it would be.
The
but,
other one gets the 10%, yeah.
Yeah.
Really
I mean, it's all. Here's the bottom line. It's all
'Cause
negotiable.
I get screwed.
It's all negotiable. You could just negotiate.
Yeah, but if you didn't know that, like I didn't know anything about, because I'm new about production or whatever, and then all of a sudden I get the thing and everything's divided into half, and it
Yeah.
was like, oh.
It's not a big deal. You're not going to get an award for MLS for having an additional sale, but you will through the company. And the company
But you
has
get
credit
more,
for it.
you get more credit, don't you, toward what your percentage might be, or that doesn't matter?
it's so insignificant
Oh,
that it's
okay.
unbelievable. Like, if I did a search by agents and I did market share report, and you're gonna go from like, it wouldn't even change the percent. It wouldn't even change, one sale wouldn't even change 1%.
So it doesn't
in terms of
matter.
the percentage of market share. That if you wanted to be able to prove to the world that you have more market share than any agent out there, and I mean, you've gotta be doing 30,
Right.
50 sales in order for that to really happen.
But I mean, it doesn't really make a difference with them.
It's really not a big deal, you know, in the grand scheme of things. But, okay, so let's get back to the objection handling techniques. So Louise, and you went through your whole objection, did you, or did we
I think
cut you
I
off in the
did.
middle?
Where did we, yeah, I gave the visual, the for sale by owner.
Yes,
And,
that's right.
and so then I say, well, are you comfortable with this, or, isn't this great? I don't know, what do we say?
I already gave it to you.
Yeah.
That makes all the difference.
That makes
doesn't it?
all the difference, doesn't it?
And then you say,
Any questions?
right, and then what do? You,
And,
Hand them
And the pen. right, direct their what? Siggy,
Right.
direct the signature,
Okay.
and then what do?
start packing.
You
Quiet.
close your mouth.
And start packing up, right? Okay, good. Excellent job. Great. Who's next?
Yeah.
I like this thing that I'm just looking at,
Yes?
to watch the body language when you're trying to take a listing or trying the buyer to, and then look at his facial expression, if he's sad or happy, and to make it change. Yeah, and the voice inflation, I think that's,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you can act like, "Ugh," or you can be
Right.
really
Makes-
excited and make
makes
it
all-
excited.
It
So
makes
we
all
can
the
help
difference,
them.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, who wants to go next?
Well, mine you actually went over, so.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, a couple of ours you already did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You already did
Well,
it.
let's share it anyway for the sake of
Well,
it.
mine was the one where they were saying that, gee whiz, you really haven't been a realtor very long, have you?
Okay, so,
Okay, and I would say, I know how you feel. Exactly what bothers you about that? And then, you know, they'd say, well, they'd counter with, well, you probably haven't done so many sales or so many listings. And I'd say, well, is that the only thing that's preventing you from making a decision? Because I'm isolating the objective. Let me show you what I can do for you. Just because when I started, I've been to a lot of training courses, and so actually, I feel that I have a lot of expertise. I know that I do. A matter of fact, I have expertise that's going to help you in today's market versus people who have been in it for 30 years because they haven't gone and refreshed themselves, and I have done that. So let me show you the different certificates that I have gotten from attending all the different workshops. Some of them are on my wallpaper, but the other ones I have with me in my book, and I'd like to share them with you. I also have a few letters from a few of the customers who have been very, very happy with how nicely persistent I've been with them.
Right.
So let me share that with you, also. Do you have any other questions then about this? Oh, and let me tell you one other thing. I've been a guidance counselor for years, and that helps me, of course, deal with interpersonal relations. So I really can handle objections, criticism, and anything else that might come my way in a good
Absolutely.
fashion.
And while you're saying that, you could flip to your bio and point to the bullet that says guidance counselor for X amount of years, and you can,
Right.
And so what I want you folks to get in the habit of doing is talking and showing at the same time. Talking and showing at the same time. You want
To get them
them to
proof.
see it. Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. One, when you were talking about persistent, I saw this lady today, and she told me that this lady, this other realtor from another company, has been calling her and calling her and calling her. And so she says to me, gee, she must be really good out there in the field because she is so persistent. So see?
See, it pays. Some people
Right.
perceive
Some
that
people
as a
like it.
positive, as a plus.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Another thing that I say to, like in letters or if I'm speaking to someone is about Carlson, GMAC, being the top producing in the Pioneer Valley, and that we are, have a very proactive with education, and we have a team that we work with. So I bring that in because it's not just me. You don't just get me, you get my company.
Right, that's good.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes. Lori, what was your objection?
It was the other agent's only charging 4% or whatever it might be,
Okay,
that kind
great.
of thing.
You want to run through it real quick?
Well, basically what I would say is, I would ask them a question that what other services that they are offering, kind of, you know.
Follow the
Comparing.
formula.
Yeah.
Let's role play.
Okay.
I'm the seller and I say, look, I can get this done for 4%, Lori. I like what you're doing. Come on.
Well, I can appreciate how you feel, but let me ask you a question. What are the different services that they are offering?
Oh, okay. That's a good one. I like that. Don't you like that? Kind of puts them in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
It
Right.
makes them think
does
about.
that mean what are the
But what if they
services
don't-
they are offering that I'm not offering?
No,
Did you
just
say
the
that?
services
What
they're
are the s-
offering, and then.
And then she can counter with it, she does them too.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Plus.
These are some of the things that we can do, the one-stop shopping, premier service, accompanied showings, open houses, brokers open house.
You
You know,
what I
agent
like
tours,
about what you're
agent
saying,
tours.
too, Lori, is the fact that what if they don't know?
Right,
Isn't that a concern?
right, right.
You mean they didn't leave their marketing plan with you?
right.
Did they even have one? Did they have it in writing?
Yeah.
You know, have you ever heard that saying, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail?
Mm-hmm.
I have a plan to get your home sold.
Right,
Let me
right.
share it with
Have the
you,
marketing
right?
plan in
Have
front
another
of
visual.
Right, right.
Great, okay, so keep going.
I lost my place.
You were isolated.
Ask
Okay.
a question, and
Okay.
now you're gonna isolate it.
Okay, but if they don't understand what the services are, you know, then how do you isolate that?
Well, let me add, you might wanna isolate it before you handle it. It sounds like
Okay.
you're handling it with a visual,
Before,
first,
okay,
after their question. So you
Okay.
ask them a question, and then you wanna isolate it first. So then after they say, you know, after you, ask the question, you know, I'm sorry, the question you asked is not a good question at that time. It's an
Okay.
awesome question. I
Okay.
love that question. But you should save that for the fourth step.
all right.
Okay? So let's go back and retweak what I
Okay.
love what you're doing. This is
All
great.
right.
So you're cushioning it,
Let me
right?
move it all, go ahead.
And we're going to ask them a different question. The question you're going to ask is going to start with, just to clarify my thinking,
Oh, okay,
it's the difference between the 4 and the 6 that I'm offering, or the 7 I'm offering, is what concerns
Okay.
you. Am I correct? Is that correct?
right.
Or what is it about the difference between the 4 and the 6% that concerns you? And they're going to say, well, it's less money in my pocket,
Okay,
right?
okay.
And then you're going to isolate it. So how would you isolate it? You'd say what? And I've already given you these words, so you might have it down there.
I have everything, I don't know.
All right.
Is that the only objection you have to prevent you from making a decision?
So you got it. You got it. Yes.
I just-
Yes, it is. It is.
It's in here somewhere.
Yep. It is, Lori. That's the only thing. And then you say,
Wait a minute. I can't read all my,
I know, it's all mixed
It
in
is,
there with
it's
your
just
other
all
ones.
mixed in.
It starts off with, if I could,
if I could show you, would you list with me? Is that
yes,
where I am?
I would.
If I could show you the differences,
Yes, I would.
okay.
And then you
And
say,
then go through all the
well, then
differences
you
that we
say,
have.
let me show.
Oh, okay, I lost that one.
That's all right.
Let me show you the differences, is that what we're doing?
Let me show you
Yeah, 'cause
something
you
that
show
will,
some visuals.
let me show you something that will help you change your mind
Okay,
about paying the difference between the this and that. And that's that's how you handle it. And then
Okay.
you show them the visual. The visual is your marketing plan. And then you use your awesome question that you had earlier, which was,
what are the services
What
that they are offering?
what are the other services that the other competitors are offering?
Mhm.
Right?
Okay.
Let's compare them right now. Let's say you didn't know and you put it on them.
Okay,
Let's say you have your comparison flow chart and you want to fill it out right in front of them. And you
right,
say, here are all the 31 services that my company's doing. You interviewed XYZ. Let me write XYZ at the
Right.
top of the page. Now, let's start at the top. Do they have a national relocation service, yes or no? And they say, well, we think they do. No, they don't. So I'm not going to put an X there. Next item. See, I'm already beating them by 1,
okay,
right? If your home was meant, I could keep going down the other 30 items, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, right now, which I'm happy to do. I don't mind. But if your home is meant to be sold through a relocation service, and you listed with a company that didn't have that, your home might not sell. So why would you take the risk of listing with a company that might not get your home sold, when you could list with a company that's covering every single one of the bases to get a property sold in this market? Does that make sense? Makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it? Having the most amount of marketing services? Great. All you simply need to do now is sign this form, and I'll get the sign in the yard in a few days. Any questions? No? Okay. Hand him the pen, show him what to sign, and then pack up. Great job. Okay. All right, gang. We're gonna top off of that. But before we end, I want to ask you: do all of you have the answer to your objection? Let me ask you a question. do any of you need any help right now with some suggestions for a visual? Yes.
Well, the help that I need is, you know that for sale by owners, you go, you ring the bell, you've got your thing, and
Yes.
I notice your house is for sale by owner, and I have some information that might help you, change your mind and hire a real estate agent, or what I had been saying was if you decide to change your strategy, would you give me a call and have a look at this material? But now I need to.
But if you say if, then you're giving them a chance to say no.
That's right. So
Yes.
what do I say instead?
When
Because I
do you
don't get
plan
in the door.
How about
yet.
this? When might you plan on interviewing agents for the job of marketing your home?
When might you plan? Yes. Good.
Yes.
Okay.
And they might say, never, we're gonna sell it on your own. And then you say, okay, no problem. I'll check back with you in a couple of weeks and see how you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you do, and you follow up with them.
Yeah.
And say, and then you could come back, hey, it's me again. Is it time for us to talk, or how's it
Okay.
going? And you smile.
Yes.
You have a great smile.
I do
You-
smile.
Yeah, there you go.
I love people.
Yes.
I know I can do this. It's just.
Have you gotten
Give you a
anywhere with the
chance,
for
yeah.
sale by owners? No.
They smile at me a lot, so
That's
I don't
good.
know what that
But
means.
that's good. They might call you.
Great sign.
And I have gotten comments like, "You seem like a very nice person."
Yeah. Are you sure you're a realtor?
Yeah,
Is this a joke?
Yeah, right.
Are you so
yeah. Are you on
Yeah.
camera?
Used to
So you
sell
see,
what?
Louise, you
Liquid
have
used
no
cars.
competition. You
Stuff.
have no
Less
competition.
than that business.
Okay. Gang, I'm going to ask you folks, any questions?
No.
Did I effectively give you a presentation method for handling all of your objections?
Right.
Yes, sir.
And do you feel more in control now that you have this system?
Oh,
Yes.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Looking on the next page, I want to share with you what we're going to handle next week. Now, I've given you the process, okay, but we're going to specifically handle competing with the other broker. I'm going to give you several history-proven dialogues that will help you beat the competition. And I mean beat them. I want to teach you how to lose fewer listing opportunities, okay? Because the best way for you to get more is to lose fewer, right? And even if you're charging a higher fee, as some of you have already seen today, I'm going to show you how you're going to be able to beat the competitor, even though you're charging a higher fee. Some people think the best way to beat your competitor is to outprice them, and it's absolutely positively not the way to do it. In fact, anyone who competed with me as an agent who lowered their price was a huge disadvantage to them. Every time they did that, it was like another nail in the coffin for themselves. I'm going to share that with you next week. And then I'm also going to give you some tools and techniques to help you stop the sellers from shopping and share with you how to do that and all that good stuff. So that's next Friday. If you notice, we're starting at a new time, and make sure you're there at that time, right on time, sharp. We're going to start exactly at that time.
I have an appointment
Which
at
is-
10 o'clock next
it's,
Friday, but I'm coming after.
It's all right. We'll tape it for you, and then we'll. So it's at 9:57, not at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 10, forget
Okay.
3 minutes.
So make sure you're on time. Gang, thank you so much for everything. You've been awesome. I know it put you to work today, but I can really sense that you got a lot out of it. So
Right, that was good.
have fun. Go out there and get them.
Right.
All right.